死亡空间重制版是那部2008年的同名经典科幻恐怖游戏的忠实还原之作。好吧，很大程度上的忠实还原。EA 的 Motive 工作室抓住了一切可能的机会，在原版游戏之上进一步优化，因此一部分剧情画面可能会和各位印象中的有所差别。其中一个例子就是主人公艾萨克克拉克第一次看着一具尸体变成尸变体的过程。如果你不熟悉这段画面，不妨先来听听这些出色的开发者们解释这段场景的幕后故事吧。
In the original version, it was a lot more toned down.
Isaac comes into the morgue, and then an infector comes through the vents, attacks the body, converts him to necromorph, and it bursts through the glass and attacks Isaac.
But that's an opportunity where we wanted to make it feel a lot more interactive, and we wanted to make it feel more immersive.
In our version, you come in and there's actually a door, so you actually go into the autopsy room itself.
There's a very low fog. It's kind of eerie. You enter the room where he's at.
He rolls the body over to retrieve the rig on the captain's back.
And as he's removing his rig,
Boom.
An infector falls from the ceiling.
The infector is now infecting the captain, and which is the catalyst that begins the full transformation.
And then the captain starts to transform into this elite slasher.
All his clothes, started to peel, started to transform into flesh.
You're seeing all manner of goo and goop and disgusting transformation right in front of the camera.
As it's screaming at Isaac, he uses kinesis, grabs a fire extinguisher, clocks it across the head, and manages to get up.
And then we move from there into gameplay. Quite visceral.
为了搞清楚为什么制作组为这段场景设计了全新的版本，我们采访了死亡空间团队中的一部分成员，来从不同角度尝试理解这个场景背后的故事。当然，这一切都基于原始版的场景，以及一个核心概念：如何把场景做得更有沉浸感。
There's a lot of scenes in the original Dead Space that happen behind glass, and there's a reason for that in a lot of cases. But where possible, we want to bring that action out. It kind of leads into the through line of telling the story of what the necromorphs are. What are these things? Where do they come from? Oh, they're transformed corpses.
This is the first time we're seeing a full transformation. We wanted to make sure we conveyed just how bloody, disturbing those transformations could be.
It's also possible to miss that transformation in the original. You could walk into the morgue and just be like, oh, well, I'm going to look at what's over there. It also means that a crucial piece of information can get lost, which is these things are transformed corpses. You see bodies on the floor, and you feel compassion for them. And now everybody on the floor is a potential threat.
that's one of the things that from day one we wanted to have a lot more in the game. We said this would be a good opportunity to do that in that scene, where you actually get to see the captain transforming, and then really surprising the player.
现在我们知道了这一幕尝试达到的目的，接下来就是叙事设计师们的工作了。他们需要安排好主角艾萨克和这只尸变体每一步的动作。这一版本中，这个场景的计划是想要传达出面对一个刚刚变异出来的尸变体的恐惧，同时也要突出对艾萨克和他的能力的刻画。
We want to bring this scene out from behind the glass. Okay, well then how does that look like? How does that feel? How do we want the player to feel? How do we want Isaac to be seen? So kind of with that in mind, I talked with Joel McMillan a little bit about it. Obviously he's going to be disarmed in that moment, but obviously Isaac's never completely disarmed. He has kinesis, and it was immediately a really great sort of visual of him, even when he's sort of helpless, to grab that fire extinguisher and go for it. And it was a really good chance to kind of show how quick thinking he is, even in, I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty paralyzed in that kind of moment.
I began blocking down some storyboards. I had some movements in my mind that I really wanted to see the captain go throughout his transformation. I had I got, just in my own home, we're all working through COVID, so we're all at home. So I had my girlfriend take photos of me acting out the transformation. I would sketch over those with the limbs of the slasher, because I didn't have the same amount of appendages as a slasher would. So I'd have to draw in the arms and show where the animation would be going on those arms and where the weight was and all that kind of thing.
There's a lot of back and forth with them about what we want that scene to be. Every scene is an opportunity to develop Isaac's character, show who he is, as well as really getting that terror of a necromorph transforming inches away from your face.
操控艾萨克进入房间，来到离马赛亚斯舰长只有几米远的距离，这意味着玩家能看到每个动作的细节。为了做出经得起近距离观察的画面，整个片段都要进行动作捕捉，但这也不是一般的动作捕捉就能做到的了，因为其中一个演员需要想办法演绎出一具长着刀片胳膊的尸体。
We went through and choreographed that through photographs and sketches on top of that to get the general staging and choreography of the scene laid out. Then from that, the talented team of animators started to block that in 3D using our rough models that we have on the project at the time.
I think aside from doing the scripts, honestly, I think the most fun was the PCAP, because we had a lot of fun putting that scene together. The two performers that we had really got into it. They actually spent a long time like kind of working together, like kind of figuring out the logistics. Okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to like turn this way and come, and it was actually really fun to watch that come together and watch them work. Yeah, the Infector was the theatre of the imagination, and Noshira, because he's a very experienced mocap actor, he was able to mime the corpse being attacked, and then we were able to bring it in later. That scene actually cost Noshira's arm extenders. That scene when he comes down and like brings like the slasher blade comes down, like that actually broke one of Noshira's arm extenders.
为了让这个场景能达到团队预期的效果，摄像机需要和它往常跃间视角解绑，并且围绕着艾萨克和尸变体移动。幸好 EA 的寒霜引擎能够实现团队的这种需求。
In order to show just how disgusting and visceral and horrific that sequence could be, we needed to get that camera as close as possible to the captain. And so this sequence was also a test bed for decoupling the camera from Isaac's shoulder and trying to find our camera language. What is our camera behavior and camera language going to be when it's not player controlled on the back of Isaac's shoulder?
有了动作捕捉的数据和齐全的工具，就该轮到美术和影像组来把这些组织成完整片段了。因为这个片段中没有对话，所以全部的焦点都会落到视觉表现上。所以美术组们努力工作，确保艾萨克和这具恐怖的尸变体的每一个元素都能被渲染得更加真实。
We started from the actual characters, making sure that all the detail is there and that would hold up to the camera because you would see it up close.
So we would often say it should look like a bowl of soup that's being poured out onto Isaac's lap. And then, yeah, this is where the limb would stretch and break and then turn into a spike and hoist his weight. This is where the jaw should, swing and drop off. And so we went through in layers like that and built in every single piece of detail that we could think of.
It was really important to show well the transformation and to keep also this idea that everything is seamless. So it was really a good way for us to be very close, to the action, to show very well, how those necromorphs appear, and to keep the player always in control and engaged as much as we can.
这种对无缝转换的追求意味着不能简单的把舰长的模型替换成尸变体，而是必须要实时的渲染出尸体变化成太空丧尸的转变过程。不过多亏游戏中有了新的剥皮系统，美术组才能得以具备能够刻画这种转变过程的工具。
Whether it's that transformation or any other necromorph in the game, we started from scratch. We started from the base layer, building the skeletal system that's accurate to that character. And then we built the muscles, the layers of fat, sinew, bones, all of that stuff is built layer by layer so that in the game, depending on the weapon you use, you get to dismember them in kind of the way that you want to as a player. The challenging part was making sure that it holds up because you do get to see it quite close. The rest of the game, you'll usually dismember the necromorphs at a distance, but in this one it really was up close and personal. So all of that had to work perfectly, the timing of it, the lighting, the effects, animation, the entire scene had to look flawless.
在这些艺术设计工作下是大量的技术支持，技术团队与艺术设计团队平行工作，以确保所有的动画效果都能完美的展示出来。
We can do a massive mesh swap there to allow for the transformation itself to happen on top of Isaac. The captain falling onto Isaac, that whole camera's like going to the floor and coming back, there's a mesh swap happening there so that we can have the proper transform happen. So there's cool tech behind it, but a lot of it, like I said early on, is the animation team did a massive job of just animating and going pixel perfect on what they wanted for the transformation. It was a question of us making sure that we can afford it in that context.
艺术与科技之间的联系才能使这一场景成为可能。不过真正让这个场景变得生动的是那些更细小的细节，就像重制版中的其他地方一样，这个场景中的细节比原版中的要丰富不少。
When you remove the rig, from the captain, it's kind of some clips that you detach on the back. Suddenly, for me, it gives my imagination a logic of, okay, it's logical. It's attached by clips, and you can remove it like this. It feels like natural and logic. Some kind of little detail, that don't have big value, but that ground a bit, the fantasy of everything. So I really appreciate those little details.
I really love how they got all the uniforms shredding off his back, and there's a really it's a really good moment when Isaac sort of hits the floor and kind of the low-lying fog on the floor of the moor kind of billows away.
就像每款游戏的每个场景一样，游戏的最终结果是大家共同努力的产物。对于 EA Motive 工作室来说，他们很高兴看到每一个个体的贡献组合在一起，创造出恐怖效果如此顶尖的场景。
From day one, it was one of the things that we wanted to have more of that in the remake. It felt very satisfying to actually see a transformation so up close.
There is a good mix of witnessing the transformation, being fascinated by what you see, and knowing that, okay, you need to act very soon. So I think this moment was really well done.
It is a team effort. All I do is just work with the team and help them, guide them, but they did all the work, and I'm super proud of them.
So it comes down to what I like best about working in games is just working with a lot of different people and different kind of mindsets. It's a challenge, but it's also very rewarding once you solve it.
I feel that sequence retains the original vision the closest of any of the sequences we have in the game, and there's a ton of very elaborate sequences in the game, but that one from start to finish retained the core vision as closely as possible.